Here you are, constantly waiting for something big to happen, for your real life to start, for that perfect moment when everything just clicks into place. But imagine if someone told you that right now, this exact second, is all that truly exists, that your whole life is unfolding in this instant. And by always looking ahead to some made up future, you're missing the amazing show that's playing out right in front of you. You know, it's really interesting how we've built our whole lives around this strange idea that we're always heading somewhere. We're not quite there yet, we say to ourselves. We're traveling towards some final goal where we'll finally have made it. Once I earn that promotion, when I meet the right person, after I've put away enough money, when my kids are older, we act like our real life hasn't actually started yet. And let me share something truly remarkable with you. What if there is no finish line? What if this idea of finally making it is the biggest trick ever played on human minds? We're taught to believe in this moment called arrival, when everything will feel finished. But watch what happens when you actually reach one of those future moments you've been counting down to. Almost right away, a new goal appears on the horizon. The finish line shifts. It's like walking toward the sky where it meets the ground. No matter how far you travel, it stays forever out of reach. And still, we keep planning our lives around reaching these constantly moving targets. The reality is simple. There is no arrival. There never was, and there never will be. Life isn't a trip from point A to point B. It's not a puzzle to solve or a job to finish. It's more like music. You don't listen to a song just to hear the last note. The whole reason for the song is the song itself. And yet here we are, missing the music of our lives because we're so focused on some future high point that we think will make everything worth it. Have you ever paid attention to the weird way our society talks about time? Time is money. Don't waste time. Use your time wisely. We handle time like a product, something to be saved, spent, or used, always thinking about future payoffs. This way of thinking has created what I call the lie of tomorrow. This odd shared belief that today's purpose is mainly to serve tomorrow. We delay our living to some future point. We put away money for when we're older. We work out not because moving feels good, but for health benefits down the road. We rush through our meals without really tasting them, hurrying to the next thing on our schedule. But let me ask you something kind of bold. What proof do you have that tomorrow will be different from today? If you can't live completely now, what makes you so sure you'll be able to live completely then? You see, tomorrow is just an idea, something abstract. It never really shows up. When tomorrow arrives, it will be today. If you're in the habit of giving up today for tomorrow, you'll keep doing the same thing over and over. It's a cycle that never ends. What's especially interesting about this lie is how deeply it's planted in our minds. From when we're kids, we're trained to get ready for the future. Study hard so you can go to a good college. Go to a good college so you can land a good job. Get a good job so you can save for retirement, and on and on. But when do we actually live? When does all this big preparation end and life itself start? That's the sneaky nature of the lie. It puts life off forever. And there's something kind of heartbreaking about reaching the end of your days, only to realize you spent your whole life getting ready for a future that never came. Now, this whole situation gets even more fascinating when we think about what time really is. Time as we know it, this strict movement from past to present to future, isn't quite what we believe it to be. It's more of a social agreement, something we made up, than an absolute truth. Think about how different cultures experience time. In Western countries, we usually see time as linear, a straight path stretching from past to future. But many Eastern philosophers and native cultures view time as circular, forever returning, like the seasons or moon phases. What's fascinating is that our modern obsession with clock time is pretty new in human history. For most of our time on Earth, humans lived by natural patterns: the sun rising and setting, the changing of seasons, the cycles of the moon. We didn't chop time into these rigid, made-up units called hours, minutes, and seconds. And yet now we've become slaves to these fake divisions. I don't have time, we say, as if time was something separate from our lives, something outside of us that we either have or don't have. But that's the great cosmic joke. You are time. Your life doesn't happen in time. Your life is time. There's no separation. Zen Master Dogen said it beautifully. Time is not separate from you, and as you are present, time does not go away. So this urgent feeling that we're always running out of time, always behind schedule, always needing to catch up, is based on a basic misunderstanding of what time actually is. We've created a fake shortage and then convinced ourselves it's real. Maybe the strangest part of our relationship with time is how we've split it into productive and unproductive hours, as if some moments were more valuable than others. But in reality, each moment is equally precious, equally alive, equally filled with the miracle of being here. So if time as we know it is mostly something we made up, and if both past and future are just ideas that exist only in our thoughts, what's left? What's actually real? Only this moment, this eternal now. The present moment isn't just one moment among many in a long line. It's the only moment there ever is. Past and future are mental ideas, useful for certain practical things, sure, but not actual realities you can touch or experience directly. Think about it. You've never experienced the past directly, have you? You've only experienced memories of the past, and those memories happen in the present. The same goes for the future. You've never experienced it directly, only thoughts about the future which also happen in the present. So your entire life, everything you've ever experienced or ever will experience, happens in this eternal now. The now isn't a tiny dot squeezed between past and future. It's the actual fabric of reality. What's truly amazing about this understanding is that it means your life isn't divided into countless separate moments that you have to somehow connect. Your life is one seamless whole, and it's happening right now. The Zen masters have a great saying: when walking, just walk. When eating, just eat. It sounds ridiculously simple, doesn't it? And yet, how rarely we actually do this. When walking, we're thinking about where we're headed. When eating, we're planning what comes next. We're almost never fully present with what is. And that's the great irony. While frantically searching for meaning, purpose, and happiness in some imagined future, we miss the fullness of life that's already here. It's like a fish swimming desperately looking for water. The eternal now isn't something you need to find or create. It's what you are. It's where you've always been. The only question is, can you notice it? Now, one of the most interesting symptoms of our future obsession is what I like to call the sickness of serious purpose. You know what I mean. That furrowed brow, tight-jawed determination to accomplish something, to make progress, to get somewhere. We've become a culture of purpose-driven people, always striving towards something, always on a mission, always with our eyes locked on some distant goal. And we wear our busyness and our stress like medals of honor. I'm just so busy, we say with a weird mixture of complaint and pride. But consider this. What if all this seriousness, all this striving, all this purpose-driven living is actually blocking life itself? When you're completely absorbed in reaching some future state, you develop tunnel vision. You miss the peripheral beauty, the wonder, the sheer miracle of existence that surrounds you every moment. It's kind of like watching a beautiful sunset while thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner. You're physically there, but you're not really there. Your body is in one place, but your mind is somewhere else. The sickness of serious purpose turns life into a series of tasks to complete, obstacles to overcome, goals to achieve. Life becomes a means to an end rather than an end in itself. And here's what's particularly fascinating about this sickness. The more seriously you take yourself and your purposes, the less effective you actually become. It's a strange paradox. The tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. Think of how children play. They're completely absorbed in what they're doing, but not in a tight, rigid way. There's a lightness, a spontaneity, a flow to their activity. They're not trying to get anywhere, they're simply being fully where they are. And there's deep wisdom in that childlike approach to life. Not childish, mind you, but childlike. A kind of serious playfulness or playful seriousness that fully engages with life without being weighed down by it. So, what's the alternative to this future focused, purpose driven way of living? Well, what if we thought of life not as a journey towards some destination, but as a dance, not as a task to be completed, but as a game to be played. Now, when I say game, I don't mean something trivial or unimportant. Quite the opposite. I mean something done for its own sake, something that has its meaning within itself rather than pointing to some external purpose. Think about what makes a game engaging. It's not the end result, who wins or loses, but the quality of play itself. A good game is completely absorbing. It brings you fully into the present moment. Time seems to both fly and stand still. You're not thinking about what you'll do after the game. You're completely here now. And that's precisely what makes life vivid, meaningful, and joyful. This quality of total presence, of complete absorption in what is. The ancient Chinese philosophers of Taoism understood this beautifully. They spoke of wu wei bi, often translated as non-doing or non-forcing. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing action to arise naturally without strain or excessive effort. It's the difference between trying to force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals and simply providing the conditions for it to blossom in its own time. This game-like approach to life doesn't mean you don't have goals or intentions. Of course you do, but you hold them lightly rather than grasping them tightly. You allow life to unfold rather than trying to force it into your preconceived notions of how things should be. It's rather like dancing. You have certain patterns or steps you might follow, but within that structure there's tremendous freedom and spontaneity. You're not dancing to get somewhere, you're dancing for the sheer joy of dancing itself. And that's a wonderful metaphor for how we might approach life. Not as a grim march towards some future salvation, but as a dance to be enjoyed right now. One of the main reasons we fixate on the future is our deep discomfort with uncertainty. We want guarantees. We want to know how things will turn out. We want security. And so we try to control the future. We make plans. We create backup plans for our plans. We try to eliminate risk and maximize certainty. We save and invest and insure ourselves against every possible problem. But here's the fascinating thing. This very attempt to create certainty actually cuts us off from the wisdom that uncertainty offers. Uncertainty is not just an unfortunate part of life that we must reluctantly accept. It's actually the very condition that makes life creative, surprising, and alive. If you knew exactly how everything would unfold, what would be the point of living it? Think about music again. If you knew exactly which notes were coming next in a piece of music, would it move you? Would it surprise you? Would it delight you? Probably not. It's the uncertainty, the not knowing, that creates the experience of discovery. Or think about a conversation with a good friend. What makes it engaging is that you don't know exactly what they'll say next, or even what you'll say next. There's a creative interplay, a dance of uncertainty that makes the exchange vital and interesting. The Zen tradition has a beautiful concept called beginner's mind approaching life with freshness, openness, and a lack of assumptions. It's the mind that doesn't know what's coming next and doesn't need to know. It's the mind that's comfortable with uncertainty. And there's tremendous wisdom in that approach. When you're open to uncertainty, you're open to reality as it actually is, rather than as you think it should be. You're available to the moment, responsive to what's actually happening, rather than trapped in your ideas about what should be happening. This doesn't mean you don't plan or prepare. Of course you do. But you recognize that your plans are temporary, that life has its own intelligence that often exceeds your limited understanding, and there's something deeply liberating about that recognition. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free up enormous amounts of energy that can then be directed toward creative engagement with what is. Now we come to one of the most fascinating paradoxes of human existence. The very act of seeking fulfillment often prevents us from experiencing it. Think about it. When you're seeking something, you're reinforcing the belief that you don't have it, that it's somewhere else, sometime else, somehow else. You're confirming your own sense of lack, your own sense of incompleteness. And as long as you're coming from that place of perceived lack, you can search forever and never find what you're looking for. It's rather like trying to bite your own teeth or see your own eyes without a mirror. The very mechanism of seeking creates the condition it's trying to overcome. This is particularly true when it comes to spiritual seeking. People go from teacher to teacher, from practice to practice, always looking for that final breakthrough, that ultimate realization that will finally make them complete. But the very act of seeking reinforces the illusion that they're not already complete. It's like the story of the fish who goes to the wise old fish and asks, I keep hearing about this thing called water. Where can I find it? The wise fish replies, You're swimming in it. Water is all around you and within you. It's what you are. In the same way, what we're really seeking, presence, aliveness, connection, meaning, isn't something we need to find. It's already here. It's what we are. The only question is whether we can recognize it. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have aspirations or work toward goals, but it suggests a fundamental shift in orientation from seeking something you lack to expressing something you already have. Instead of asking, what do I need to get or achieve to be complete? You might ask, how can I more fully express the completeness that's already here? Instead of what do I need to add to myself, perhaps what can I let go of that's obscuring what's already present? This shift from seeking to recognizing, from acquiring to expressing, changes everything. It transforms life from a desperate search into a creative unfolding. And paradoxically, when you stop seeking fulfillment in the future, you often find it right here in the present. So, how do we actually live this way? How do we shift from future fixation to present engagement? How do we stop postponing life and start living it directly? Well, I think it begins with a simple but profound recognition. You're already here. Your life is already happening. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to become, nothing missing that needs to be found or acquired. This doesn't mean you don't grow or change or evolve. Of course you do. But that growth emerges organically from fully being where and what you already are, rather than from rejecting the present in favor of some imagined future state. One practical approach is to regularly bring your attention to your sensory experience. What you're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling right now. Not your thoughts about these sensations, but the raw sensations themselves. This immediate sensory experience is always happening in the present. It's a doorway into now. Another approach is to notice the tendency to postpone life. Those moments when you catch yourself thinking after this is done, then I'll. Whenever you notice that pattern, it's an opportunity to pause and ask what's wrong with right now. What's missing from this moment that I think I need to find somewhere else? You might also experiment with what I call purposeless time periods, when you're not trying to accomplish anything, not trying to get anywhere, not trying to be productive or efficient, just being, just allowing life to unfold without attempting to direct or control it. This isn't laziness or passivity. It's a highly alert, highly conscious engagement with what is. It's being fully available to life as it's actually happening, rather than always rushing on to the next thing. And then there's the practice of wholeheartedness, bringing your complete attention to whatever you're doing, whether it's washing dishes, having a conversation, or completing a work project. Not dividing your attention between what you're doing and what you'll do next, but being fully present with the activity itself. Those aren't techniques to get somewhere, but invitations to recognize where you already are. They're not about adding something to your life, but about removing the obstacles to experiencing the life that's already here. As we draw to a close, I want to suggest something rather radical. The future-oriented mind is not your true nature. It's a habit, a pattern, a construct, and a relatively recent one in human history. For most of our existence as a species, humans lived much more in tune with natural rhythms, much more present to what was actually happening. It's only in the last few centuries, with the rise of industrialization, mechanization, and what we call progress, that we've become so obsessively focused on the future at the expense of the present. But beneath this conditioned future-oriented thinking, there's a deeper current of awareness that's always present, always here. Some traditions call it presence. Others call it consciousness or awareness. Whatever name we give it, it's the fundamental reality of who you are, not a separate self moving through time, but presence itself, in which all experience arises. And there's something profoundly liberating about recognizing this. It means that what you're seeking, Peace, fulfillment, aliveness, connection isn't something you need to find or create or achieve. It's your natural state, your birthright. The future oriented mind is always seeking, always restless, always wanting something else, something more, something different. But presence itself, your true nature, is already complete, already whole, already at peace. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. Quite the contrary, when you're no longer driven by the restless seeking of the future oriented mind, you're free to engage with life from a place of creative response rather than anxious reaction. You're free to act not from a sense of lack that needs to be filled, but from a sense of fullness that naturally overflows. And that's a completely different way of being in the world, not grasping, not clinging, not desperately trying to secure some future state, but allowing life to unfold through you as you, with a kind of relaxed, alert presence that's both peaceful and dynamically engaged. So I invite you to experiment with this possibility. What if you're already what you're seeking? What if the peace, the fulfillment, the aliveness you're looking for isn't waiting for you in some future moment, but is available right here, right now? What if you stopped waiting for your life to begin and recognized that it's already happening? What if, just for this moment, you let go of becoming and simply allowed yourself to be? And so we come full circle back to where we began, this eternal present moment, which is the only moment we ever have. The future is always a concept, an abstraction, a thought. It never arrives as the future, it only ever arrives as now. So perhaps the greatest wisdom is the simplest. Stop waiting, stop postponing, stop treating this moment as a means to some future end. Your life isn't somewhere else, sometime else. It's here, it's now, it's this. And when you truly recognize that, not just intellectually, but with your whole being, something remarkable happens. The search ends, the struggle ceases, and in its place there arises a natural joy, a spontaneous gratitude for the sheer miracle of existence. Not because you finally arrived at some ultimate destination, but because you recognize that you were never apart from it in the first place. Thank you for listening, thank you for being here, and most of all, thank you for being.